Have you ever gone on a journey to chase a dream? How many dreams involve long international flights, hours spent bouncing in the back of a Land Cruiser, rain, heat, dust, bugs, wild animals feet away from where you sleep, all part of an adventure I'll remember the rest of my life? And when it's over, what does the adventure really mean? Any trip requires planning, let alone to the other side of the world. In the days before heading out, my living room became the epitome of organized chaos. Passport, money, visa, vaccine card, camera bag. Can't leave anything behind. My trip would begin departing from Charlotte, connecting at JFK in New York, before a 14-hour flight to the Kenyan capital of Nairobi. Once in the country, I'll be visiting two national parks, both prominent in wildlife. The remote and arid salt flats of Amboseli National Park, before heading northwest to the Mara North Conservancy, adjacent to the Maasai Mara National Reserve, part of the Serengeti ecosystem, where the wildebeest migration had now begun.
Yeah, I'm just anxious because I don't know what's necessarily in for me on the other side. I feel like I've got some idea, but obviously I won't know until I get there. It's been a long time coming, 30 years, but I'm finally making it. I'm finally going to do it. I just hope that I get there safe, without too many speed bumps along the way. I hope my flights aren't delayed or don't get canceled, so I'm like stranded either in New York or Nairobi.
Little did I know, the adventure would begin like this. 7 hours before I'm set to depart, I learned my flight to New York had been canceled that morning. With plans now up in the air before I was, the next 12 hours proved a frantic scramble. Trying to book a new flight, make another connection, a race against the clock to reach New York before my flight to Kenya. Fortunately, whether it be by luck or fate, I managed to catch my flight with an hour to spare. "14 hours on a plane sounds rough, and it can be. Kenyan Airways, however, was a gracious host. At least in my case, paying to upgrade with extra legroom certainly helped. The next morning, we landed in Nairobi beneath an overcast sky. After a brief stint through customs, I went to my hotel to stay the night, before leaving for Amboseli the next morning. From there, I managed to catch the only poolside lounge time for the whole trip. As the sun descended over Nairobi, I enjoyed dinner at the hotel before winding down and preparing for the night." All right, here we go. I'm here. I made it. I'm in Nairobi. Oh man, it's what a whirlwind the last 2 days have been. The trek really begins tomorrow, first thing in the morning. So flying out to Amboseli. So yeah, hopefully tomorrow will be kind of like set the tone for the trip. I swear, like any country I visit, like Daniel Craig, man, it's like he's always on. So he's my travel companion more or less. Big day tomorrow. So till then, I'll hopefully see you all in Amboseli. All right, catch you then. Bye. I hardly slept that first night in Kenya. Jet lag, the adrenaline of being in a new place, too anxious for the real adventure that was about to begin. The dust breathes. Amboseli feels like it could be the setting to a science fiction film. Barren salt flats resemble another planet. The sun is intense and inescapable. Strange silhouettes dance in the mirage. A regal volcano dominates the landscape. Day 2 in Kenya began with more hurrying and waiting with a plane ticket in hand. Still jet-lagged and groggy, we boarded a small aircraft, leaving Nairobi behind. This time, no luxury of extra legroom, but the view made it all worth it. I looked out to the world below, finally realizing how far from home I was. I watched Mount Kilimanjaro appear on the horizon, happy when clouds no longer obscure its shape. This story according to local Maasai tribesmen. After an hour in the air, we arrived. Amboseli National Park. Get ready to head out. Meanwhile, here I am, looking like I'm ready for work. What's wrong with me? It was there I was introduced to my guide, a man named Joseph. I would later dub him Fast and Furious for his unrivaled knowledge and speed of the dusty roads. Before us was a panorama of earth and sky. Amboseli is an extraordinary place. You're taken from bone-dry white salt to lush green swamps and riverine forest. Underground springs of fresh water from Mount Kilimanjaro draw all the animals. Herds of zebra, wildebeest, gazelles, buffalo, ostrich, and flocks of birds. You sometimes wonder where they all came from. It reminds me of the Disney Jungle Cruise. Oh, a giraffe. Giraffe. After so much time dreaming and planning, I was finally here. It became real the moment I saw my first wild elephant. But there was death, even in paradise. A flock of vultures competed for what was left of a young zebra. Other animals watched indifferently from nearby. Day one in Amboseli was a learning curve. Knowing the terrain, what settings on my camera to use, and just how many photos I can take without killing my battery or overwhelming my storage space. Later that afternoon, we headed for home, leaving Amboseli. It was nearly an hour drive along uneven red desert earth. Good luck trying to stay in the same place for very long. We eventually reached a place called Elerai, 12 miles southeast of the park. It was a rustic safari camp in the shadow of Kilimanjaro, and in the heart of the Elerai Conservancy, where animals still seemed everywhere, even from the dinner table. So I got 2 beds here, and then here's my camera equipment, a couple of chairs, fence, here's all my clothes, and then here is the bathroom. So this is a rock shower down here, and then here's the sink. Elerai was a remarkable place. The staff was wonderful. It was there I was introduced to the Vanderpoels, a family from Belgium, now on holiday. I was to be paired with them for the remainder of my stay. They welcomed me into their group and invited me to dinner each night. I took no issue when I said I was part Dutch myself, and though they questioned me why I didn't speak a word of it. Before the day's end, Joseph surprised me with one final game drive before witnessing my first sunset in Kenya. And to close my first day, we were in the company of a wise bull elephant. The conservancy wasn't a zoo. Once night fell, all guests couldn't wander the camp without a staff escort. Inside my tent, once the power from the generator halted at 11 p.m., it was 7 hours in complete darkness. Only a small flashlight to guide you, listening to the sounds of the African bush outside your tent. Only a thin tarp separated you from whatever lingered outside. The next day started early. A full day's game drive inside the park. For lunch today, Joseph brought us to the base of a steep hill formed by volcanic rock. It dominated the landscape. Heat radiated from the ground. Ahead of us was a steep climb. We were met with an incredible panoramic view of Amboseli. Barren white salt met lush green swamp. Wildlife carried on their primal routines from below. A remarkable place on Earth. The only challenge remaining for us after our hike, keeping our lunch out of the beaks of sinister starlings, who watched our every move and seemed to be everywhere, and hoped to snag our unwanted scraps.
How old is that, the little one? That one is about to.
As the day neared its end, we returned to camp. With light descending over the canyon bush, Joseph led us on a sundown walk through the savannah, before ending the evening with a campfire and clouds breaking over the mighty volcano. Kilimanjaro was happy again. So last night I had a herd of zebras right outside my window. I'm not even kidding. I heard them for about 2 hours last night. They didn't go away. I was just and I'm here in the middle of nowhere, in the savannah, in the complete wilderness, and I have a zebra literally 3 feet from where I'm laying my head to sleep. It's crazy. So yeah. Everything moved slower that final day in Amboseli, knowing I'd soon say farewell to Joseph, the Vanderpoels, but also to this place itself, before soon moving on. Through my camera lens, I took in one last glimpse of the marshland, the Soda Lake where flamingos flocked like captured in a painting, to the seemingly endless stretch of desert, where animals seemed to emerge from nowhere. A long stretch of our morning remained in one spot, with a breeding herd of elephants, mothers, sisters, daughters, and offspring, accepting our presence like the company of old friends. My time in Amboseli has been incredible. Seeing the sunset that final night felt different in a place like this. But in my heart, I couldn't resist the wonder of where I would soon be. Tomorrow, I go to the Mara. I'm excited, though I'm just as nearly as anxious. Big cats, perhaps a rhino sighting, though most of all, I hope to see a wildebeest crossing. Who knows what tomorrow will bring. A land where golden grass met open blue sky. A glimpse into another world. The balance of nature. A silent order. The struggle for life. The fight for survival. A place of indescribable beauty. A place I knew I belonged. It was back to the Amboseli airfield before leaving the salt flats and marshland for the last time. Back to Nairobi again. Another flight ahead. An hour in the air, I realized where I was. The land was more lush. Stretches of endless grassland. Massive herds of wildebeest could be seen right from beneath me. And there we were, the Mara North Conservancy, adjacent to the Maasai Mara National Reserve. I couldn't hide my excitement. Why would I want to? It was there I was introduced to my guide. His name was Peter, a Maasai with remarkable experience and knowledge of the land, and just as eager to see wildlife as I did. Arrival in the Mara North began on an excellent note. Just feet away from my camera lens, a pride of lions. We had found the marsh pride. The Mara North felt like a place I had dreamt since I was a kid. Endless African grassland, acacia trees dotting the landscape, wildlife at seemingly every turn. It was paradise. That afternoon, we made our way back to the camp, a lodge in the heart of the savannah. I met the wonderful team, led by the incredible manager, Miss Jennifer. Just minutes into my arrival, I met two couples from Nashville on safari with their kids. I couldn't help but marvel, 7,000 miles from home, and I could still hear southern accents at the lunch table right next to me. The end of our first day belonged to the big cats. Peter and I found two cheetah brothers, patrolling their territory in the fading light like old souls. Before the sunset, we found the lions again. Their roars heralded the coming night. I thought I had seen some remarkable sunsets until I arrived in Kenya. Back at the lodge, I came to find how prevalent the wildlife in this place was. I hear lions and hyenas literally outside my tent. I heard of baboons and buffalo, and there was a big elephant herd here earlier tonight, and then a hippo right over there. After dinner, another surprise. We were treated to a nightside game drive. Male lion right there.
Are you joking me? What?
Getting a flat tire on the African savannah at night in lion territory, certainly not ideal. Fortunately, after a quick patch, we made it back to camp in one piece. Quite the way to end day one. Sunrise over the conservancy. Skies unveiled a gentle palette of color. Peter and I were out early to see what we could find. Our first sighting, a lone young male elephant. It wasn't long before we wished to see the lions again, and on the search we went. We again found the marsh pride, glimpsing into their lives. I was amazed they felt so unfazed by our presence. More time spent in the lions' company, I couldn't help but marvel at the place where I was. Later that morning, we found the cheetah brothers again, hoping they'd take interest in the zebras grazing nearby. But the shade is where the brothers prefer to spend the rest of their morning, so Peter and I naturally opted for breakfast. Here at Mara North, little time passes at all before your next encounter. The savannah felt like a community, all animals, predator and prey, woven together in the same remarkable ecosystem. As the sun dipped low and the clouds collected, a sundown on the savannah. One final streak of gold on the horizon. We watched the coming night approach from the edge of a fire on the open grassland. Back at camp in time for dinner, it was one of the kids' birthdays. Naturally, Miss Jennifer didn't let this go unnoticed. A performance from the local Maasai to celebrate the new year. Only 2 days had passed, and I felt enchanted. I felt I was living a dream. But in my heart, an anxiousness was quickly growing hold. Tomorrow, we were to head to the Maasai Mara. The day had finally come to see the wildebeest migration. If there's one free pass that I can have that the expectations meet reality and that something is everything that you dreamed it would be, I hope it's this. With any hope at all, we'll be able to see a crossing. Lifelong dream of mine. No pressure. Tonight ended like so many others before, asking a simple question: who knows what tomorrow will bring? Beneath a sapphire sky came a storm of dust, water, and thundering hooves. A spectacle witnessed. A dream fulfilled. The day had finally come. The trek to the Maasai Mara National Reserve to see the wildebeest migration. This natural phenomenon is driven by the will to survive. Massive herds of wildebeest and zebra followed the rains for fresh grazing, leading them across the Mara River, snaking through the Mara Triangle, where crocodiles and lions await their arrival. My guide, Peter, and myself set out for the park well before sunrise, and hoped to catch the first crossings at dawn. We endured the biting chill of the winter air, the rocky terrain beneath our feet, and the bustle of morning traffic. At first light, we arrived at the Maasai Mara. Our arrival into the park was met with a display of extraordinary photographs, capturing moments of beauty and the fight for survival in this wildlife haven. This photographer felt like a common man, looking up in the company of giants. With the day of possibility ahead of us, our spirits were high. But our arrival into the Mara didn't begin as planned. Not even 10 minutes in, a flat tire. With the clock ticking and a new tire set, Peter and I were off again. A quiet tension filled our Land Cruiser. We were both anxious to reach the river's edge, with no certainty what would be there to greet us. After a wild ride, Peter and I finally arrived to the Mara River under the warm glow of early morning. The calls of birds filled the air. Crocodiles and hippos basked on the banks. As though heaven heard our wishes, herds of wildebeest began building at the edge of the gorge. Nature follows no script or sense of human time. We could do nothing but wait. Eventually, more wildebeest arrived on the bank. The numbers swelled. A family of zebras seemed to lead the wildebeest closer to the water's edge. The ones at the front had only one way to go. Then, one bold calf descended into the river. After a lifetime of waiting, I watched the miracle unfold. Witnessing an event you've dreamt to see since you were a kid is difficult to describe. All I know is my journey was meant to take me here. I knew it was here that I had been led. What comes next after checking the top box of your bucket list? Breakfast, of course. With smiles impossible to lose, Peter and I enjoyed our breakfast on the grassland of the Mara, witnessing the passing herds. With a day forever marked as a win, everything else proved only a bonus. Peter and I soon reunited with Miss Jennifer and our Offbeat team. Throughout the day, more herds arrived to the river's edge. The instinct to move led the wildebeest to their destiny. The crossings continued. With our day in the Mara waning, storm clouds built on the horizon. Soon it was time to return to camp. But not before the Mara bestowed a few more wonders in our path. As quickly as the momentum triggering the stampede of the thundering herds, a day in this paradise came to an end. It was one of the best days of my life. A moment in time I'll forever reflect with peace. The herd swelled to more than 1,000. Each wildebeest reluctant to be the first to cross the river, where predators lay in ambush. The hippos grew anxious of the pending onslaught. The birds circled overhead. Finally, time and the heat took their toll. The zebras led the wildebeest down to the banks, for the first wildebeest calf took the leap of faith into the Mara River in pursuit of the rains. The herd fell as one into the water against a torrent of dust and chaos and hoped to survive another day. Have you ever gone on a journey to chase a dream? And when it's over, what does the adventure really mean? My final days in Kenya blurred together like the colors of the African sky. They were immersive and tranquil, melting into one another. Once more, my guide Peter, our camp manager Miss Jennifer, and I set out to see the crossings at the Maasai Mara. We returned to the river. What they don't show you on National Geographic and BBC Earth, herds of a different kind. Safari vehicles, packed with tourists, sometimes as many as 70 deep, all competing for a prime spot to witness this once-in-a-lifetime spectacle. After an hour of waiting in the intense African heat, once the stampede begins, all hell breaks loose. All vehicles ignite at once. It's mayhem, as everyone jockeys for the best vantage point. Sometimes you're sent flying in the back of your own Land Cruiser, all in a storm of dust. I compared it to Grand Theft Auto Maasai Mara. Past the adrenaline rush, the human traffic puts added stress on the herds. It alters their behavior. and may cause the animals to abandon the crossings altogether. I learned even the sacred natural phenomenon was under threat from the forces beyond. Not even the Mara was immune by mankind's hand. Our final evening in the Mara North Conservancy belonged to the elephants and the lions of the Offbeat Pride. In a place they were safe to be what they are, as the sun descended over the horizon. My final morning in the Mara, I had an audience. The old buffalo bulls who found refuge grazing on the fringe of our camp looked out towards me, in curiosity and gratefully not a threat. Despite the beauty of the setting, I found myself melancholy. I knew I would soon say goodbye to my guide Peter, our fearless leader Miss Jennifer, and the remarkable staff at Offbeat Safari. And I'd be saying goodbye to a place I came to love, and quickly know to be home. It's everything I hoped it would be, an imagining I was blessed to make into a memory. On returning home, I've thought more about my time in Kenya. In this wilderness lies an uncertain future, driven by man's fascination and inconsideration. In this haven, a timeless and beautiful balance of nature, a fight for survival. In this paradise, I felt closest to God. There's something deep inside you that helps you find your passion and the places you're meant to go. So find them. And whatever you do, make sure you return. The story's not over.